All right, I'd like to call the Monday, July 18, 2022 Township Committee meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by faxing notice of the meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Star Ledger, Camden Courier, and Atlantic County Record on January the 7th, 2022. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins? Ms. Hopkins? I'll come back. Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor Kane?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins, are you there? So if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and respond.
Should we try to get her on another phone, maybe, or?
I'll
try.
I'll get her. Call Sue Hopkins.
Calling Sue Hopkins.
Sue. Richard, I'm going to put you on the speakerphone. Okay.
Is she muted on the other one?
Hi, Sue. Are you able to hear
Hi,
me?
this is Sue.
Can she hear that?
Hello?
There you are. Is that you?
Yeah?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, very good. Thank you. Everyone's here, Mr. Mayor.
All right, at this point, I'd ask you to join me in a moment of silence for private reflection, please. All right, moving on, we'll move to guest presentations. We have none this evening, correct, Mr. Administrator? All right, and we'll move on to item 1, addition, deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have 7A, 3, and 4.
7A.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale.
Are you removing them?
No, we're adding.
You're
They're
adding.
business registrations, Mrs. Link.
I see
Second.
that, but
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next we'll move on to early public comment on agenda items excluding those listed for a public hearing this evening. Joe? Are we speaking on
Which item?
B?
B?
If we're speaking on 4B, there is a public hearing on that, Chief. Okay, how about the other individual? Both fine? Are we good with that? Okay. Next, we'll move on to 3. Discussion, formal action may be taken. First, we have A, the 2021 audit report. Resolution certifying the government body members have received and reviewed at a minimum the comments and recommendation portion of the annual report of audits. Joe, you want to touch on this at all?
We have a very clean audit. There's no findings. We have a good financial bill of health, sir.
Committee, any questions, comments?
No, sir.
None.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
so moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Vitale. Read a roll call, please.
Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
I just want to point out, this is really a testament to our finance department, our CFO, our deputy CFO, and all the department heads here in the township. No findings whatsoever for 2021. We always have clean audits. This is a great audit, and I compliment you on that. Thank you, and I vote yes.
All yes and carry.
All right, next we'll move on to B, Park Road easements. Sir?
Yes, Mayor. The town's moving forward to gauge the costs, and we're waiting on a quote for appraisal to take the next steps.
Okay, so we're waiting on the appraisal, so I would suggest at this point, is there any other discussion on that?
Yes, I understand that we would have to have an appraisal, a licensed real estate appraisal, and hire that one. Now, I don't see anywhere in the budget for the roads that can be done. And I think that if it be done, it'd be postponed till next year. I understand the easements will curtail the front lawns of many people along the cove side, and I think it's very unfair that we are entering into this discussion. But if it be that we have to have a assessment, now I thought Joe gave us an assessment of $50,000 for the easements.
To clarify, what we requested and what we're waiting to get back are a quote. So it's a proposal of appraisal services to see what the cost is to get those appraisal
Okay,
services
so we're
for those
just
easements.
getting a quote.
We're just getting a quote for those,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, because if Sue is a committee of one, she is on the roads department, and we are to work together. So this comes to me as a big surprise. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Once we get that number, Joe, we'll revisit this at the next meeting. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to 4. Public hearing, adoption of ordinances. First one we have is A, Ordinance 2002-2022. This is an ordinance rescinding Ordinance 1984-2022, street vacation portion of Columbia Avenue. Committee, we had comments from our solicitor at the last meeting and our administrator. Any questions or comments? This is a public hearing before I open it to the public. Hearing none, it is a public hearing. I would open it to the public at this time.
Hello, my name is Mary Summer. I live at 5911 5th Street, Lot 12, Block 804. I'm here to respectfully request that the paper road adjacent to my property remain open. I have lived at this residence for 44 years, and for 44 years I have used this road.
Now, do you realize this is not the alley on 5th Street? This is Columbia Avenue.
This is
Well,
what she's talking
Is that,
about.
okay, I don't, okay.
Yeah.
I'm unaware of exactly where that is.
It's between 5th and, it's between 5th and 6th Street, correct?
It's a paper street.
It's a paper street between those two, and
It
it
leads
is
to
labeled.
Farragut.
It's labeled Columbia.
No. Okay, this street, this is Columbia Avenue in Laureldale.
No, this is not Columbia in Laureldale. It's in, well,
Now, it's ordinance 2022, street vacation portion of Columbia Avenue. That's in Laureldale.
well, I disagree with that. There's Columbia Avenue right between 5th and 6th, and they do not want it rescinded. I mean, they want it, that ordinance rescinded.
Sandman, would you weigh in on this, please?
I will. An ordinance was adopted to vacate a portion of Columbia Avenue that ran to a lot to the rear. That was passed as a result of a lawsuit was filed with respect to that, challenging that. One of the bases of the lawsuit was insufficient knowledge to an adjoining property owner. I respectfully disagree with my adversary with regard to that, but it was best decided that we introduced at the last meeting an ordinance to rescind that ordinance to put us back to the status quo, and we did that specifically without denigrating any of our rights to do it again, either in the context of the litigation or not. You can do a do-over at any time, but this is definitely the Columbian Avenue in Laureldale.
Laureldale.
And Laureldale, not in
Correct.
Mays Landing
No.
proper? Because there is a Columbia Avenue there, and that's what had everyone upset. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this matter?
Before you take a vote, I just want it very clear on the record, because council is here for an adjoining landowner, that this is without prejudice for the rights to legislate with respect to that road in the future for whatever reason you desire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Michael Lucas. I live right next door to.
Would you state your address, please, Michael?
Michael Lucas. I live right next door to the Columbia Ave. As of right now, I get a lot of water going to my property. If there's any sort of street, anything put into this vicinity, I don't think I can mitigate all the water that goes into my property. It becomes a hazard to my house and to everyone that lives there. So this is why I went through with this. And I understand, why they were redoing it, or rescinding it, but I don't agree.
Well,
You
we have
agreed
to take
to
care of the
res-
legal end of it.
I get it.
And I do appreciate your comments,
Get it.
so, yes.
In other words, you don't want the paper street taken away.
No, I want the paper
Want to
street
take
taken
away.
away.
You want it
Because
taken away?
if there's ever put a street in that area, my property has a lot more water that comes into there, as does my neighbors. But mine is the lowest by far. Mine's the lowest by far between two of my neighbors. So I get water from my one neighbor, I get water from the other side, and they verge this way. So if you ever put a street in there, I've got to take the brunt of all of the water, and it comes into my property.
Michael, it is Michael, right?
Yes.
The only one that can put a street in there is the governing body.
We have enough
wanted to
roads,
voice-
Michael. We're not building any
We're
more.
not gonna-
No, I just wanted to voice why I did it, because it's water that I can't take care of. And it's one of my jobs I do. I'm a landscaper. I know how to take care of water, but I can't take care of an acre of water. Because that's what that street becomes, is an acre of water.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on 4A? Seeing none, I'll, oh,
No, no.
okay.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Ruth Piano. My husband and I are also Mike's neighbors. We live at 68 Old Highland Street, and we just would like to thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for your time. And also, I just would like to say that my feeling is, and I would like to just state it, is that the decision that was made earlier on the easement was a good decision as far as I could understand it. And I feel that hopefully it will be rescinded, and then it will be reinstated, the decision that you made at that time. My husband is disabled and can't sleep, and is very worried about all the ramifications of anything that would happen on that quiet spot there. So I just would like to thank you for your time, and just hopefully the decision that you made prior could be upheld, and thank you.
Thank you. We're on 4A. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Seeing none at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public. Okay.
Turn your microphone up.
Make it go up.
Uh-oh.
I do it show, I get moves and stuff. Okay. I think it's going well so far.
I got it. Thank you, though. For now. I can mess it up. My name is Richard King. I represent Joe Kowalski and Giovanni Di Pascal. We're actually the property owners that became landlocked by the vacation of this road, and we filed the lawsuit. We're not alleging that anyone did anything intentionally to harm us. I don't think all of the information that you needed was before you. I fully acknowledge, Mr. Sandman, that it's without prejudice, and this board may later decide that vacating is the appropriate thing to do, and now we know about it, and the engineering can be done to address this gentleman's concerns about water, and all that can be done at another time on a full record. So I appreciate what you're doing. I do think it's the right thing, but I fully acknowledge that you may decide to do it again later, and then you'll exercise your discretion as you do. So these folks, I don't think they intended to hurt us either. They may not have known that it did that to us. So we are where we are. But thank you for your consideration. Thank you, Mr. Sandman. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're still on 4A. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Committee, what's your pleasure? Questions, comments?
Make a motion moving ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Patali,
Second?
second by Mrs. Link. Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we'll move on to B, ordinance 2003-2022. This is an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum numbers of employees, specifically the fire administrator. All right, well, this has been on the agenda. I know we have some individuals in the audience that would like to speak, so why don't we start with that? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Chief, I believe you were on the list first, so why don't you come up?
Good evening. My name's Mike Swain. I'm the current chief of the Laureldale Volunteer Fire Company. We sent a letter into the township, and for the purpose of the record, I will read that letter. The volunteer chiefs of your community are writing to you in solidarity. We're requesting you table ordinance number 2003-2022, creation of full-time township fire administrator. We have several concerns regarding the position. First, we have not been provided with a final copy of the proposed duties and responsibilities of this position. One draft of the position called for qualifications equal to an active supervisory chief or incident commander, including emergency medical services qualifications. We're concerned that such position would come under the supervision of the police chief. We believe such a position should be a direct report to the township administrator/council on par with the police chief. The fire companies as a department of the township should have full and complete autonomy to function as any other department. We understand certain parties are working to reconstitute the 4 existing fire companies under one unified constitution. We believe it would be in the best interest of the township and our community if this position would be created as a part of that reorganization, and consideration should be given to rolling the Office of Fire Prevention under the umbrella of the fire department. We would prefer that our volunteer fire companies come together to elect someone from within our organization or provide such service. Alternatively, the fire company should have input on the selection of this individual as members of the selection committee. We're open to dialogue regarding this issue and wish to work in a cooperative way to achieve the changes which are obviously necessary as at times the community and our membership changes. We agree with a passage in the report tendered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, DCA, which cites that you continue to do everything in your power to make the volunteer force work, because the alternative of transition to paid fire will be financially crushing to taxpayers. That's on page 5 of the DCA report. We need to coordinate the implementation of those recommendations carefully, thoughtfully, in a well-coordinated way. This effort could be a catalyst to improve the conditions our volunteers work under and improve service to the community. We need to work together to improve the morale, retention of rank and file firefighters, which is our greatest concern. We look forward to discussing our concerns with you to find the best way forward in the best interest of the residents of the Township of Hamilton. Respectfully assigned the 4 chiefs of the Township. In addition, I've been a member of the Laureldale Fire Company since 1987. When I came here in '87, the Laureldale Fire Company was a sleepy little place out on Route 50. We answered about 100 calls a year. We're on par this year to answer more than 300 calls. When I joined, there were about 7 or 8 members. We're rapidly getting back to those numbers. We're not having the people come out to volunteer. That is our biggest problem. We don't have the people to put on the street. We're just absolutely trending in the wrong direction. This administrative position, don't get me wrong, will help us, but it all needs to be done together in a coordinated effort, and we need to take care of bringing everything together, not as now, it used to be 5, now 4 separate fire companies. We all need to be together before we create such a position. I thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Wasn't there one other person signed up, Joe?
He's coming.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name's Eric Moran. I live at 5930 Oak Street. I've been a volunteer fireman with Laureldale Fire Rescue for 20-plus years. I respectfully request from you guys to table this decision to next month, because it is to my understanding that there are members in the township that belong to the fire companies that have been not privy to this information. To pass this through without those members having this knowledge and having the ability to digest this information is doing them an injustice. They've served this township countless hours for years. We at least owe it to them. I am respectfully requesting that we extend this 1 month and vote on this next month. In regards to other things, I do feel that the job description is too vague. I think there needs to be more substance to it. And if you guys, would like to speak to me afterwards, I will gladly provide you with that information. But this administrator needs to work with these chiefs. Now, if this is to go through, they need to be a part of this. This is designing the fire department from the ground up. You're taking 4 companies that have worked tirelessly to do the best they can year after year for next to nothing. LoSAP, which we get $800 a year. The workload's increased, but the monetary end, and it's not even about the monetary end, but the monetary end has not increased. And we've doing the best that we can with what we got. And we're holding everything together with chewing gum and Scotch tape. Things that we have worked hard, past administration that has worked hard with trying to put things in place with dedicated turnout gear purchases every year. To the understanding that that's not on the table anymore. Equipment that is substandard, apparatus that is approaching life expectancy. These are things that need to be addressed. I understand there needs to be some sort of administration. There needs to be some sort of direction. And I agree with it. But these chiefs that have worked, as hard as they have, they need to be included with it. I do have a few questions for you. All right, what's the time frame? If you elect this fire official or this fire administrator, what happens if he doesn't do his job? Does he get fired, or is he a 3-year person that is just going to waste away? Are you guys going to vet these people that are, going to apply? Is it going to be somebody that is retired and just want to pad his pension? Or is it going to be somebody that's going to come in and actually do the work and get us where we need to be? All right. Who's going to perform the interviews? should be a diverse, group doing the interview, all right? Even still, input from the fire chiefs, from the fire members, because it's a direct impact on us. We need to have some sort of insight. There needs to be a two-way communication. And as far as the fire administration, I've read the job description, all right? With regards to the fire, administrator, there are things that can be delegated. He doesn't have to, he or she, I apologize, he or she does not have to take all this on. There are things that, the chiefs handle very well day to day. Apparatus maintenance, these are things that if they're already in place that these chiefs are taking care of, half the battle is done for him. So, again, I respectfully ask that you table this to next month so that way all department members have the ability to receive the information, digest it, and give their 2 cents. And then next month, hopefully, come to a resolution on this. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that. Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. There's a little bit to unpack there, so I'm going to start. I'll start at the beginning. To hear that input has not been received from the fire chiefs. I appreciate, first of all, the chiefs collectively getting together and sending this letter today. But just for the public and the volunteer firemen in the room, first of all, we respect you immensely. And we were actually working on another program, which I'll talk about in a second, in order to help the chiefs recruit and retain volunteerism. But this process started out because of an issue that happened. The issue happened. We had an issue with a fire company. That issue has been since resolved, and we're looking to consolidate all the bylaws, rules, and procedures from one department to another. It makes sense for it to be unified across the board. As far as input from the chiefs, I personally asked Mr. Kosecki to reach out to each one of the chiefs and schedule a meeting. That meeting took almost 6 weeks to get scheduled, but we did have it. We had a very good meeting. We sat in a room with the chief, myself, the administrator, and Deputy Mayor Richard Cheek. We sat in a room. We discussed this DCA report in detail. At the conclusion of that, I circulated questions around the room to try to get answers to find out where we were after the meeting happened. At the end of that meeting, I got 3 yeses. I got a yes on acceptance of the DCA report, that it was read by each chief, and that they understood it and they supported it. I then asked for support for the position. I was told at that meeting that there was support for the position. I went around the room. I straw polled each person. I went around the room. There was support for the position. I asked for one other question, and that question was answered by whether you wanted someone in-house or someone outside of Hamilton Township to come in and help, so we had a fresh set of eyes on it. Overwhelmingly, again, the support was to hire someone outside. So as a township committee member, as your mayor, I push this thing forward, and I want to see it move forward, because the sooner we get it done, we need, to answer your question, chiefs, we need to hire the fire administrator to complete the consolidation process, because we want to have them have the input in doing this. It doesn't make sense for them to come on board after we've already done it. So we want them to be part of the process as the direct liaison with the fire chiefs and the township committee. So that's a part that has to happen first. We want to do that first. And one of the disappointing things to me is I'm a guy that wants to get things, I want to move them. Let's move them. Let's do them in the right direction, but let's move. I mean, we sat in multiple meetings, Deputy Mayor, myself, and Joe, going over the DCA report and creating an incentive program to help the fire chiefs, for the firefighters and the volunteers in our town, many different areas, from paid calls that they would get paid out during the course of the year, at the end of each quarter for the calls that they've made, reduced fees if they're applying for anything in the township, There's a whole list of items that were put together as an incentive program that we wanted to roll out. I would have done that at the next meeting. I can't do that until we get the fire administrator hired, until we get that position filled. And I agree with the gentleman's statement completely. The fire chiefs absolutely need and they will have input in this. At the conclusion of that meeting, I asked each chief, I said, guys, just in order to keep this moving, I believe I gave them 2.5 weeks. Joe, I believe it's 2.5 weeks. I said, please, so we can keep this moving, please get anything you have. We gave them a copy of the ad and said, any input you have on this advertisement that we're going to put in the paper, please get the comments back to Mr. Kosecki. Joe, did you receive any comments?
We received a few.
We received a few comments. Did we incorporate those comments into it?
Yes, sir, we did.
We did. So that, now, again, I'm getting this today. I certainly respect it. I like solidarity with the fire chiefs, and I understand their concerns in this. And I believe that we can address them and we can correct them if the committee feels the desire to do so. But I want to make sure that everyone is aware, and I'm going to instruct Mr. Kosecki in front of everyone again this evening. Joe, would you please set up a meeting for myself, Mr. Cheek, and the fire chiefs ASAP? You know my schedule. I'm in here every Tuesday and Thursday morning for many hours holding meetings, but I will come in at any time, Joe. Whatever time is convenient for them, I'll make myself available so that we can keep moving this forward.
I'd like to make some comments. When we selected the chief of police, it was going to be a done deal. And I said, no, we should have interviews. And I definitely think that this position should be put out before the public, and we should take interviews and have a select committee. Our committee did all the interviews for the police chief. Now, it's a very, very important position, and I think that we should table this and reconsider the implications of this, because we know that we depend on the fire department, we want their input, and and it's a very important thing to move on, but it's also very important to have the right person at the top. So that's my comment.
Any other questions or comments?
I emailed some comments about this. Was either one of my comments discussed to be added into this ordinance?
You sent, is that the email where you felt that it should stay under the chief of police? Is that the one you're referring to?
Well, I said
do
it
have
should be, I don't want it to say either under the chief of police or a designee. I think we need to decide right, in the ordinance, who it's going to be.
I believe we should decide now who the fire administrator reports to, not leave it as chief of police or designee. In my opinion, the fire administrator should report to the chief of police.
Correct.
That is contrary to what the chiefs want. I just want to point that out.
I understand that. And I also asked on there, could we change the qualifications so that whoever it is have volunteer fire experience, not and/or. I think that whoever this administrator is should definitely be well-versed in what goes on in the volunteer world, not just in the paid world. There's a big difference between the two.
Well,
Chiefs, I'll have a copy of this for you at our meeting, and we can discuss that in greater detail. I mean, look, the process has to start the way we did. We had an issue we had to deal with, and then we looked at how do we prevent it in the future. The DCA report happened. The DCA report has now been adopted. Everyone agrees to that. Now we got to work out the language for the individual that's going to come in and help us. And of course, if I brought the chiefs in prior to do this, I'm going to bring them in again to do this. So if their opinion has changed on a few things, then we need to discuss that. My concern is keeping it moving forward and keep this process moving. I really want to see an incentive program rolled out for our volunteers. We need to get past this in order to get to that.
yeah, but we should not hurry to make a decision tonight and pass it without the proper input and the proper, interviews. We had countless interviews
Judy,
with the
you
chief.
can't have an interview until you,
Yes, you can.
until you actually advertise for somebody.
Well, let's advertise for it.
We already did.
Well,
Are you
then
motioning?
if we advertise for it, I was not part of that selection committee. Neither was Sue Hopkins, neither was Carl Patali.
There is no selection committee, Mrs. Link. We haven't got to that point yet. We have to formulate the job description, we have to advertise, and we have to create the position. Once we do that, and we get individuals that respond to the ad, then we'll set up interviews. We can't do that until we get through these processes.
Another question I have, in the ordinance, it states full-time. And then the day after we introduced it, we advertised for a position that didn't even exist yet, but that's for another argument. And it says for a full-time fire administrator. And then at some point, last week, a couple days ago, the advertisement changed to part-time. So is it full-time or is it part-time? I think that's kind of an important thing to figure out, because are we going to pay somebody $60,000 to be a part-time fire administrator?
Okay, let's be clear on one thing. What was proposed to Township Committee and what was considered was a not to exceed $60,000. That doesn't mean someone has to be paid that amount. When I met with the chiefs, we discussed the amount of time it may take someone to do this position. These guys are all volunteers. I understand, they need help, and that's what we're trying to give to them. And we discussed the amount of time it would take for this individual to perform the duties. In the beginning, it's probably going to be a lot more until they get up to speed. I believe that our conversation went to, once we're up to speed and once everything is laid out, then that position would probably be between 20 and 30 hours a week, if I recollect. So
Mayor King, this
it
is
is
Sue Hopkins.
absolutely, it was
I
always to
absolutely
be
agree with you.
time
Let me
position.
give you a great example. I think
Nice
once
speak.
you hire this
No, we don't have
integrated
public
fire
hearing yet. Just
chief
one
that
second. Let the
represents
comments
or
finish.
speaks on behalf of all of the others, they can formulate a plan for like fire equipment, what's going to get bought 4 years out, 5 years out, much like what happened on the road improvement plan. And I think that's a full-time job for the first couple of months until you get everything organized, and then you're just segueing back. But I think there is an upfront for a full-time position for at least the first 6 months, if for no other reason than to get everything organized and planned so they can step back.
So if that was what was discussed, then how come that wasn't in the ordinance?
It should have been for hiring a part-time individual. So if there was an error and somebody wrote full-time, you have to, people are human, somebody made a mistake. But it was always discussed, in the room that we had the conversation, it was always discussed that this would be a part-time position in support of the fire chiefs.
If I could say, the way I understand it is, I'm part of public safety along with the mayor. We would meet, I just want to clarify, we would meet with the 4 chiefs, understand their concerns, their positions, what they're looking for and whatnot. Then we would write the job description and advertise for the job. Right now, we just have a generic job description and everything else. We would totally meet with the fire chiefs.
Deputy Mayor, when we met with the chiefs the first time, at the conclusion of that, we agreed to provide them with, which we did, we provided them with a copy of the ad that was being considered, as well as the DCA report, as well as the ordinance, for their input on each. We did receive several comments. The comments that, as Joe said, the comments that were received were incorporated into what was actually done. We have some changes now that want to be considered. If that's their desire, I support considering them.
I totally support
Yeah.
considering, but we have to move forward.
I agree. And I believe by what I see I believe the chiefs believe we need to move forward also. We just need to do it in the right manner.
Yes.
I like to say, by looking out at our audience and all the volunteer firefighters that are out there, somewhere there's a disconnect. Somewhere there is a communication breakdown. I don't know where it is. I have no idea. But all those men and women that are out there, you need to listen to what they have to say, because they're the ones that are doing it.
We're doing that. There's an option for them to come up and speak, and I've listened to each of their chiefs. And my phone number is available. Chiefs, give it out to any one of the gentlemen. If they want to speak to me, I'd be more than happy to. We're listening to them as much as we can. That's why we had the meeting with the chiefs. If they want to bring more information, we're going to schedule another meeting. I want to know their concerns.
July 2nd, we'll go with that. We're going to do that on July 2nd.
Go ahead, sir.
Whatever the date was.
Public, Bob, do we have to reopen public?
Yep.
Yeah. Committee, you see that there's a gentleman that wishes to speak. Is there a desire to reopen public to allow the gentleman to speak?
I make a motion to reopen
We
public.
have a motion. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, sir.
Eric Moran, 5930 Oak Street. Just hearing you guys talk right now, I'll tell you this right now, my personal opinion, this needs to be a full-time position right off the bat. You were looking at building the Township Fire Department from the ground up. This cannot be a part-time job. This cannot be, pardon my language, half-assed. It needs to be done the right way, because I'm tired of things being done, willy-nilly. I'm tired of it. It needs to be done the right way. I've put 20-plus years in this department, all right, as did everybody else behind us. We deserve to have this done the right way. The countless nights that we've been out there pumping out Old Egg Harbor Road because somebody's house is being flooded. Hours on hours of equipment out there doing things time and time again. We deserve this to be done the right way.
What is making you believe that it's not, after the discussion we just had, what is making you believe that it's not going to be done the right way? We just said we're going to have another meeting with the chiefs to make sure that
I
all your
understand
concerns
that,
are heard.
But what I'm getting at is you guys just had a discussion here of, is it full-time, is it part-time? Is it on-call, is it not on-call?
I have to take the gentlemen that are in those positions, the chiefs of those departments. I'm listening to them. If they tell me it needs to be full-time, we'll address full-time. If they tell me it needs to be part-time, we're going to address part-time. What they told me in the past, that there would be more hours in the beginning ramping up, and then it would be a part-time position. And that's the way it should have been advertised.
And I do agree with that. It being full-time initially to where the groundwork is laid and things are formulated, and then if it transitions out to one of them, they want to take over or whatever the case may be, but it can't be 2 hours a day, writing things down and then, all right, I'll get to it next week. All right, that's just my opinion.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Sir?
I'm Joel Sanders. I'm the current Assistant Chief at Cologne Volunteer Fire Company. As some of you all know, we had a recent administration change in my company. I agree with everything Assistant Chief Moran from Laureldale said. I just want to say, you guys need to table this, because there are certain aspects of this that you're bringing up that I myself and the current chief of my department, I don't believe are fully aware of. That DCA report, I've not even seen it.
It's been circulating for almost a year and a half.
Well, like I said, sir, I have not even seen a copy of that DCA report. So until I have everything in front of me where I can look at everything myself and see what's going on here, I don't feel comfortable making any decisions either way, do we vote on a township administrator now or, for later? I would just respectfully ask you guys to table it and, let everybody get up to speed on the issue.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Louis DeMartine. I'm Chief of Mays Landing Fire Company. I remember we had this conversation inside the meeting, okay, but when it came to the chief's position that we're going for right now, the job thing that we're talking about right now, I was given the letter to look it over, and it had a signature spot on the back and a date that, in my opinion, it had to be signed and dated if I approve this, just like buying a car, okay? You have to sign and date it. Well, I didn't do that. I talked to Joe. I told Joe I was in favor of the DCA report and the $17,500 for the lawyer. I was I was good with that. Nothing to do with this other job title, though, so I don't know where that came from, but please don't put words in my mouth, all right?
Chief, we discussed in detail the administrator's position, and then, Joe, didn't we forward to each of them the next day the copy of the ad?
The next day you did.
Yes. I mean, that's, so I mean, it's what we discussed. And I went with the fact that, you guys had several weeks to go ahead and get back any changes you wanted. And when what we received is what we went with. If there was something else and there was a disconnect, I was not made aware of that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I have a lot of guys that I have to turn over this and let them all read this. I can't do all this. Just because I'm chief, I don't make all these decisions on my own. I have 30 guys that I have to talk to. I can't see all 30 guys in one night. We are volunteers, naturally, and I see the guys that I can see. I am trying to get their input on every one of this because in a year or two, if I'm not chief anymore, these gentlemen have to take over, and I need them to be on board with this to approve this. So I am not in favor of this job as it stands right now, okay? So I'll give you that right now, okay? And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
So what was sent to him, a job description?
The job description, I'm not in favor of right now, yes.
But we can change that after we meet with
Well,
the chiefs.
is that what Mr. Sandman has to say? We can change all that once we get this approved? Is that what you're saying?
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, we can change that. When we move on and we meet with the chiefs, and you as a chief
Right.
know the feeling of your firehouse,
Membership,
and the
yes.
other chiefs know it as well. We can make it part-time, full-time, change it. It could be a volunteer, it could be anything. That's not etched in stone.
So why can't we just wait for another month?
How are we going to move on and meet with the chiefs, and how are we going to get our description and everything else? Why not move on from here?
We have a job description
Okay,
right
but
now
we-
that we want to just adjust a little bit. It's nothing major.
Yes, so we're moving on.
Well,
And then we could, it's not like it's etched in stone. We're moving on to the point that the mayor and I will meet with all the chiefs and fine tune everything.
okay, so if we have something on there that you don't approve of, how's that going to get through? You have to approve it anyway, right? So if there's something in that job description that we don't like, okay, and then you guys do, so we bring it to the table and you decide you're going to keep it that way anyway. What leg do we have to stand on then?
Chief.
We're
We brought
looking
you
to
in.
work for you.
We requested you to come in
I
so
know
that
you
we
did.
could get your input. There's no one trying to do anything to you that you don't, we're trying to help. That's all we're trying to do. We're
Right.
not trying to dictate to you.
Understandable.
Okay.
But all I'm asking is wait for a month. Let us discuss it with
Well,
our
I'll tell you what,
membership.
how about we do this? How about we get this meeting scheduled very quickly, and we put this off for 2 weeks?
That's fine. I'm
That
good
work
with
for
that.
you?
If the other chiefs are
Works for
good with
you?
it, I'm fine with it.
And that
yes.
way, chiefs, I'm asking you to please, your deputy chiefs, let's get the schedule to Joe as quick as possible. Let's set this meeting up, and let's hash this out so we can move on and prevent another issue from happening and incentivize our volunteers. Let's try to get this thing done. Let's try to move it forward and get it done.
And let's just bring this to the table, not 2 or 3 other things, because it
That's
gets all boxed up and we
and-
jam everything
And you know
up.
my feeling on
Yeah,
that, Chief.
right.
That's what I want to do. Let's
Okay.
concentrate on what we're dealing with, that one issue or 2 issues. Let's get them done, and we'll go from there.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
I would like to add that anytime there is an ad that goes in that paper, I want it on in my basket. I have no idea what this DCA report was, and I feel as though the whole committee needs to be on deck when it involves the volunteers that have served us for many, many years. I really feel as though, don't push something on. Let's really, discuss this. I want a full report of any discussions. Just because they're on public safety does not mean me, as a township committee, should be isolated from all these decisions.
Right.
And that's what I feel.
Rich, got it.
One thing, Chief, and for all the chiefs, this is a learning curve for all of us.
Absolutely.
In 2 years from now, and we realize the job description can change, we can change it. We're all growing in this together.
That's why we got to take a little more time and look at it. Take a step back and look at it. That's what we
More
got to
time.
do.
We'll have our
Understandable,
meeting
and I thank you for that. I really do, because we do need this, and we just have to take our time and do it right, the way we think is right.
Yeah,
And
and
Chief,
who
I'm
knows what's going to
confident
turn
we
out?
can get in a room again and talk about,
All
we'll
right.
figure this
Yeah.
out.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Evening. Nelson Gaskell, 508 Farragut. What I'm seeing about this discussion, I think it's just being rushed too much. You got plenty of time. It's not a job that has to be created immediately. I think these gentlemen and the ladies and everybody that works in our volunteer organizations need a little more time, especially the firemen. And I disagree with Louis. I think it should take another month or so. It doesn't have to be done overnight. There seems to be a lot of concerns, and it takes time. It takes the chiefs time to talk with their members. They just don't get together every day, you know. They need time to really put this out to them and let them understand it and make sure everybody's comfortable with it, the whole group. It can't be just the chiefs. They got to have the backing of their membership, and that's what they need. I think even a month wouldn't take anything away from this job. We haven't had it for all the years I've been in Mays Landing, and the volunteers do a great job. And I think it
Absolutely.
needs to be
No
vetted
one's-
a
no
little
one's
bit more than it's
disputing
being vetted. Thank you.
Frank Roby, 309 Farragut. At the last committee meeting, there was a gentleman asked a question about closing the Laureldale fire station down, because I believe it was you, Mayor, had said that this, bringing in this position was going to not only save money, same coverage, save money, smaller physical footprint. 2 years ago, MISPA was closed. Are we talking about closing another station?
Oh, God, no. Where's that come from?
Out of your mouth.
No,
Go-
it did not.
go watch-
Absolutely did.
go watch
I
the-
never from this dais said that we were looking at closing another station.
I
It's
didn't
the
know.
farthest thing.
But
from-
how else are you going to do for a smaller physical footprint and for a same coverage at
I
a
want to make it
decreased
clear
number?
to the public, because something was just said. I want to make it absolutely clear. There has never been a discussion. We dealt with a situation that was dropped into our lap. If that situation didn't occur, at the end of the day, we had no desire. We weren't out looking for issues with fire departments, okay? We're not at this point. An issue arose, we corrected the issue. Now we're fine-tuning things. That's all we're doing. There was never any discussion from this dais in a back room with anyone else regarding anything regarding shutting down another fire department. I think if you listen to my comments earlier said, I'm anxious to get this position done because we want to roll out a program to incentivize volunteers and help build the ranks in the fire department, not tear them down. So we're trying to do it the right way. There's never been any discussion about closing down another fire department or anything of that nature.
So how are you going to do the same coverage at a lower price with a smaller physical footprint, which is what you said?
That's why we're hiring a fire administrator to help us figure that out. Okay? And I had buy-in from all the chiefs for that. I want to hear what they have to say again so that we can get this thing fine-tuned. That's all I want to do. All right?
Dean Wellington, I'm the president of Mays Landing Fire Company. I have one question to ask. We have been asking way before all this started. I mean, I've only been in here 20 years, but I've been in different fire companies. Way before all this even started up and problems with the other fire companies, we have asked for somebody to be a representative for us. Because I understand how frustrating it could be. If our fire company wants something, we come to you, another fire chief comes over, and we're all kind of like in a big ball trying to get things done. Instead of having one guy decide, okay, that's worthwhile taking up, it's not worthwhile, this is why, and meeting with them. That would help us out tremendously. There's nothing against having a fire, we've been for it. We've been for it even before I think you were even in council.
You know, and this is an enhancement. It's not punishment. We're trying to help.
I do understand that. I do understand that. But my one question to everybody up here is when
Mayor
you
Kane?
thought of this idea, when you came up
This
with
is
it,
Sue.
and you said
I'd
now
like to speak. Let me know if
look
they can
into
hear me.
am I-
I want you guys to understand two things from where I sit on position of committee, because I know very little about volunteer firefighting. I just kind of new to this entity.
Okay.
What I saw in the value of having that fifth integrator was the
Sue,
ability
Sue,
for
Sue,
the fire chiefs
Sue.
to have someone to help them collaborate plan.
Sue,
Yeah.
we're opening up the public comment, they're speaking.
Oops. Okay.
Okay? Oops. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish, please.
Pretty cool. I love modern technology. My question is, when you thought maybe we should have a ministry, maybe we should look into this, right? Why didn't you first, before all this, before you sat down and even talked about it, the commissioners, both commissioners, everybody, come to the fire chiefs, this organization, and sit down with them right then and there and say, look, we're entertaining now of putting a chief in. We're entertaining now of putting an administrator in. What were your thoughts while you came to us earlier to find out? It seems as if this agenda is, of course, political. Not, I don't mean that to be a rig, but to keep everything in order and within the law. But before any of this even came up, why didn't you just come to us as a whole, as a fire company, and say, we're now looking at having an administrator, we're now looking at having a chief. What were your thoughts when you first came to us 4 or 5 years ago and got those in, then got the input? Instead of us seeing what you came up with, seeing what's going on now, and trying to amend things, pull things around, and throw things together, and come up with the thing. And I do appreciate the 2 weeks, thank you. But if you would have started with us first, and not had a discussion, I'm Italian, not had a discussion before anything, all this would have been avoided. And we'd have been more than happy to come down. Our members and our fire companies stick together. Of course, we have problems, everybody does.
Sure.
Our fire companies have problems. But when there's a fire, it's all one company. These fire companies, these gentlemen, all these chiefs, we have our differences, but it's one company. And if you would have came to us as one company, before you even started to write the pencil down and ask why did you decide to do the fire company, I think all this would have been avoided. And we would have had an ordinance, and we would have had an idea that would have been together with us before you even brought it to council, before all this started. And I just don't understand why you couldn't have done that. Because our fire company, I'm sorry, because our fire company is a membership. And whatever happens in our fire company is voted by our members. If you want to change something, then we go to the membership. I don't come up here and speak without going to the membership. We don't do anything. Membership, we're all one. And that's kind of why we're kind of like saying we have to have time. I understand what you're saying, but we have to have time. It's been so many years now before we didn't have one. Why the push? And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Can I just touch on one thing?
Sure.
I can't speak for what happened 4 or 5 years ago, but the DCA, the Department of Community Affairs, came in and did a study about 1.5 years ago. So this took several months to do. The state came in and did the study and then provided us with their findings. As part of their findings, the fire administrator's position is in here. This has been in circulation for well over 1 year now. We're trying to move it along. And before we did that, we did sit down and get input from all your chiefs. Before we move this to the next level, we had that meeting. I'm willing to do it yet again and do it, if we have to do it 4 times, 5 times, whatever we have to do, we can do. But I thought that once we left, that we were satisfied with this. If we're not, let's move on and let's get to a point where we're all satisfied.
That's the point now, that we're not really satisfied with everything there, and that's why we're asking for you to table it, or again, thank you for the 2 weeks. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
First off, I would like to invite you and the members of the public, Wednesday night, Laureldale meets. Anybody wants to come by, take a look at the station, what's there, you're more than welcome.
Appreciate that.
Any members of the committee, anytime you want to come to the station, give me a call. I'll be happy to give you the quarter tour. But I want you to remember that if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. There has been a history in this township when it comes to the fire companies, and this is my personal perspective, that we've had promises made to us before by the governing body, none of you all that are up there, that we committed the plans, a 5-year plan for trucks, a 10-year plan for trucks, another plan for equipment, that whenever a bump comes in the road, well, guys, sorry, we can't do that. We're going to put it off a year. we're going to put it off too. There was supposed to be a plan in place to put money aside for the purchase of equipment. We recognize that the purchase of equipment is ridiculously and obscenely expensive to buy fire equipment. It is like buying a yacht. It is just this hole into which copious amounts of money go into to buy the simplest piece of equipment. And the laws and the regulations have changed in such a way over the years that no more can we go out and buy an F700, put a body on the back of it, and call it a fire truck. We're not permitted to do that. This is a large undertaking. It is a huge undertaking. And the last thing I want to do is come at it in an adversarial way. I want to work with the governing body to find a way to do this in a way that helps our membership. And we are struggling. And somewhere, somebody, if there's an expert in recruiting, I'd like to meet with them to help us put together a recruiting program that works across the township. We took a Band-Aid with the Exploring Program back in 1992. I was one of the founding members of our Exploring Program. It has put over 100 people into emergency services in this township the last time I looked at those numbers. We need programs like that to bring the youth into it. Look, I'm an old man. I'm on my way out. It won't be long before I'll be saying, hey, see you all later. But we need the youth to come up behind us. And quite frankly, in my community, there isn't a whole bunch of youth looking to kick down the door. So we need your help. We need help of the public. And I thank you for your time.
And Chief, just, I mean, I don't want us to keep beating the same drum, but part of the reason why we were trying to move it along is for exactly what you just said. Because the fire administrator should be involved with helping you with the recruiting program tied with the incentive program, which is outlined in the DCA report, which we just want to expand on. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this. We realize that every single organization out there is suffering for volunteerism. And what you guys do is a whole lot more than others do. I mean, running into burning buildings and saving people, we want to give you the best equipment we can. We want to do the most for you we can. We just got to get through this process. And if we meet again, I'm sure that we're going to be able to sit down and we'll figure it out. So, thank you.
Good evening. John Carrigan, Chief of the Weymouth Fire Company.
Hey, Chief.
Just seems like you're moving at warp speed on this one position. We have a contract with an attorney to build Constitution and bylaws of a new fire company that encompasses all of us. I hope that's moving along.
It is.
At that same speed, because eventually we're going to have a fire chief, not a fire administrator. So I don't see what the big deal is trying to get this done right now. We need to work on that Rich gets this thing done and everybody understands it, and then we can move forward. That's my biggest concern. It's a little
Appreciate
too
that,
fast.
Chief.
And actually, I did say at that meeting that, you're going to have to get used to it. There's going to be a township fire chief.
And
you
if
guys
you
were
remember, I
pushing-
was concerned with the name chief because I thought the chief should be independent of the fire departments and it should be an administrator. But that's
Yeah, that's
however
what-
you guys want it. And I think you guys collectively said it should be chief. If that's what you want, then that's what it is.
Okay.
But I wanted it to be
And
administrator.
that's the concern, that this administrator coming in and talking to other companies that have been in the same position as we are back in the 80s, and they said, a good friend of mine says, don't even bother with the administrator. You're going to have a chief. Get to it. Okay?
And just because you mentioned the meeting, part of what the meeting, and just for the public's, I want the public to be aware, whether we use the word chief, whether we use administrator, the position is to support and help the chiefs that are in the room. When it comes to a scene, a working scene, we had this discussion. It is that chief that's in the room, the chief that's responsible, or whoever the lead person is, they're the ones that are responsible for the scene. This chief/administrator, whatever we end up ultimately calling it, is administrative only. That's all that is. The fire departments do not lose any control at a scene. I want to make sure that's perfectly clear.
We all understand that. There's a code in Trenton that specifically says that.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Let me tell Sue. Sue,
Sir.
we're out of public comment.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I just listening to all of the dialogue, and one thing rings true to me. I'm sorry to the volunteer firefighters and the chief. As committee, we should have approached you 5 years ago. The committee should be in a dialogue with you before we launch down a process like this. Our town doesn't survive with volunteer firefighters. We just simply don't. And we want to work collaboratively. You have my word as a committee, and I'm sure the other committee members sitting up here, we're not going to repeat this again for you guys. We're going to be more open dialogue, and I think Mayor Kane is indicating exactly that. But I just want to say I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Committee, any other questions, comments?
I think we should table this until the next meeting.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any other motions? Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes. Chiefs, I thank you. I look forward to you getting with Joe, and let's get this scheduled as quickly as possible, okay? Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 5A, Introduction of Ordinance. The public hearing for this will be held August 1st, 2022. Ordinance 2004-2022, an ordinance authorizing the sale of Lot 2 and Block 390 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton, granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to the same right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. Committee,
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
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 Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
Yes, and introduced.
All right, we'll move on to 6. Awards, bids, contracts / change orders. A, resolution authorizing mayor to sign a term sheet previously signed by the Hamilton Township Municipal Utilities Authority and directing the township solicitor to prepare a formal lease for the use of the Hamilton Township offices. All right, I guess I'll tackle this one. I've been waiting for this for some time, and like what we saw earlier tonight, it doesn't matter how you start, it matters how you finish up. And I believe in this instance, there was a lot of misinformation put out, but with changing the MUA chair position at the MUA, dialogue was opened up. Mary Jo, I'd like to thank you and the entire board. With that dialogue being opened up, the board has agreed to terms for the MUA to come in and lease space in our building, and it's a win-win situation for the MUA, and it's a win-win situation for the township. That lease, part of the lease process will enable the township. The township will end up with the Ken Skull building. We have already reached out to Verizon. We expect to meet with them, I believe, within the next week. And Mr. Will, have a wonderful evening. And with that, we're hoping that the redesign there with cooperation from Verizon will create a much-needed municipal parking lot in the center of town, which the Mays Landing merchants and others have been asking for many, many years. So I'm excited about this. I really want to thank the board at the MUA for seeing through the chatter and coming to the right conclusion at the end of the day. I think it's a great opportunity for the ratepayers. I think it's a great opportunity for taxpayers, and I'm very happy to see this on the agenda this evening.
I know there was talk of all kinds of shared services. Was there any other discussion of any other shared services? Trucks, equipment, manpower, anything like that?
We actually had a discussion about that at Thursday's meeting, knowing this was going to be on the agenda. We wanted to get through Thursday's meeting and the lines of communication with the MUA board chair are constantly open, and I am open at any time to discuss further opportunities for shared services with the MUA and the Township of Hamilton.
I am in total disagreement with this agreement posed at 6. I think that as we've discussed before, and I've mentioned this, I've gone to see the building, I've gone to see all the sites, I've gone to see the reports. I don't see any reason why we should move anything into our building. And I do believe that we only have 2 years where we may end up bringing back the court here in Hamilton Township. And I think we're jumping the gun, bringing other people into those rooms and so on and so forth. And the idea of tearing down that building is ridiculous. Is ridiculous for parking. I've been a member of the township for a long time. I've been a member of the Merchants Association. Those parking spots are not going to really create a viable Mays Landing. It is us helping the merchants in different ways, but not that way. We have a lot of parking behind the municipal court. When we have the Halloween parade, everyone finds a place to park. Okay? So why are we going to tear down a building that has perhaps it could be a doctor there, a dentist, if we want to rent it out, if we want to go through this, but to tear it down, I say no.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm looking through this, I see the agreed value of the property at $290,000, but it's assessed at $365,900.
The repairs that may or may not be needed to the building are taken into consideration. So that's the reason for the price. And Mrs. Lake, I have to respectfully disagree. The Mays Landing Merchants Association has been asking for parking on Main Street for quite some time. I don't see the opportunity where someone's going to park at the courthouse and walk to the pub, or walk to the bakery, or walk to Homestead Barbershop. I don't see that being a viable option. And again, this may not be the catalyst that fixes everything, but it could be, along with the low-speed vehicle ordinance, it could be one of the things that adds to the list of successes that we put forth that makes Main Street successful again. And this is what the merchants are asking for, and it's one way for this committee to support them. We've supported them with ordinances. We've supported them in other ways. This is one more way we're trying to support them.
Well, I think that's a mistake, because you still have a little bit of a walk, even if you're a senior, from that parking area to any store on Main Street. We have to come up with some other vehicle to create a viable Main Street.
Mrs. Link, I am welcome to your suggestions. This is my suggestion. I'm welcome. I would be more than happy to listen to yours. If you bring them forth, we'll consider them just like we're considering this on committee. And as far as the distance to walk, we have reached out to, we have contact with, and we are meeting with the folks from Verizon. We have an alternate plan that we're looking at that we want to pitch to them. Of course, if we get buy-in, the distance will not be what you're referring to.
Well, what is this pitch?
Mrs. Link, that's for us to talk with Verizon once we get them to the table.
I want to know what the pitch is now.
Well, that's not for disclosure at this time. We're trying to work it out. I mean, obviously, we don't discuss everything before we have the conversation with the actual company that's going to be involved.
I don't agree.
Okay. Again, I appreciate your comments as always. Any other comments? Ms. Hopkins,
Sir,
any comments?
I heard Mrs. Lake, and I don't disagree with her entirely, but I'm tired. We don't change in our town. We don't change Main Street, the Mill Street, we just don't make change, and we continue to die. And I thought if we took office, we would have some mechanism for change. So while I may not be totally sold on that being a parking lot, it is a need that has been identified by the business owners up and down Main Street for the last 20 years. And it's not going to go away, and we're not going to grow Main Street without expanding parking in that area. So I think it's a good deal for today, and we should run with it.
I appreciate your comments. Any other comments, committee? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
No.
Mr. Patali?
I'm going to vote no.
Mayor Kane?
Again, I'd just like to thank the MUA, the board, and I vote yes. I think it's a step in the right direction, and again, I believe that we have proven that we're the committee of action. We're not just going to sit up here and talk. We're going to figure out ways to get things accomplished that's being brought to us, and this is one way to do it, so I vote yes.
3 yes, 2 no, motion carries.
I would just ask that Rita has a signed copy from the MUA. Did the mayor sign that and get it to me, and I'll draft the lease based upon it?
All right, next we have the consent agenda, items 7A through 7A through L, with the addition of A, 3, and 4, removing H. Is there anyone else that has discussion items on the other items, would like to see them removed? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, I will entertain, at the request of our solicitor, I will entertain a motion to table H, please. Committee, motion?
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Read a roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Why did you want to table this?
Because the statute cited in there has been repealed.
Okay. Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes, and table.
All right, next we'll move on to 8, personnel, which we have none. 9, approvals, minutes, the regular meeting minutes of July 5th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have B, the bill list, bill total $881,096.65.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. It's pretty brief, but we continue to hold meetings to engage current and prospective businesses as part of our economic development, as well as evaluating areas of the township for improvement. We also are continuing our contract negotiations. The township's moving forward with its ability to address maintenance on problem-prone properties. And we also are moving forward with several job postings of open job positions while maintaining efficiency and looking to improve efficiency in operations. Thank you.
Fantastic, Joe. Thank you. Bob?
Just to report that on the economic development issue, the administrator and I have made arrangements to have a discussion with a somewhat neighboring municipality that has gone through the exercise.
Fantastic, Bob.
So that's up and running, and we should be back to you very shortly.
Great. Hopefully, we can get something, so we can maybe introduce something in the next meeting. I know you'll try your best. I appreciate that. And just for the public, that is the transition from our Industrial Commission to an Economic Development Commission. We're looking to put them in charge of helping spur commercial growth along the corridors of our township to help offset our individual taxes. So, and we ran into a little bit of legalese, just some language. Mr. Sandman is working that out for us. So the Industrial Commission Chair and members are excited about it. We're looking to move forward with it. So thank you. Thank you, Bob. Joe?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any comments on my report.
The engineer doesn't have anything. We're in really good shape.
Well, I'm going to go on the record. Joe and I have been speaking, and there's a lot of people are complaining about 3rd Street and the moonflowers, and it's obvious that whatever topsoil they put in there must have had that stuff already in it. So I'm hoping that will be removed and replaced.
Yes, actually, we've been in discussion with the contractor. Obviously, his main focus is to get the other stuff done. Matter of fact, all the concrete was finished up today. Asphalt will be scheduled within the next week, and then obviously we have to clean up all the topsoil issues.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
In addition to the moonflowers, if you go on 3rd Street, you'll see a lot of beautiful flowers out there tonight, because they
well.
blossom under the moon.
Yep.
But I don't know if this is germane, but I did see the moon flowers available for sale at Carmen's.
Okay.
And for a 16-inch, it's $20.
So maybe they could dig them up and sell them to Carmen's.
So maybe some of our...
It's a win-win.
Some of our people who live in Mays Landing want to dig them up before you destroy them.
Maybe I'll get a change order reduction from the contractor.
Yeah, there you go.
Additional comments, Mrs. Lee?
Yeah, I've been studying those moonflowers too much. I have a video of them. I'm going, now that doesn't look like grass in that area.
Yeah,
And they started blossoming in the leaves. I said, being a botanist, I was very curious about those. But I understand that they're poisonous to human beings. So please don't pluck them and try to eat them because they are poisonous. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Patali?
I took a ride over to, I drive by there quite often, the Lenape Park East, and the pickleball courts were painted. I saw them, they were getting painted last week. It really, really looks nice. There was a wedding this past weekend that was held where the boathouse used to be, which is now called the fishing pier, and there's a lot of action going on over there. So kudos to Atlantic County for that, but also let's not forget about that lighthouse over there. That still needs to be looked at, and somebody's got to get something going on over there. But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to take too much away from Sue, but I was over at the Dragon Boat races. It was a fantastic day. It was beautiful. So many people were there. It was amazing how many. It just gets bigger every year. We need to embrace it even more next year. It'll be back over at Lenape Park East, and it's every year it gets, like I said, it gets bigger. It's fantastic. And I want to give a shout out to our local team that rode. It was, I believe it was Sue's team. They came in second. They had the second fastest time. And the first fastest time was the Philadelphia Police Department. And they do this, they go to races all year long. They practice every week. And Morningside Mayhem, I believe was the name, they came within, it was less than a second that they came in second. So kudos to our local guys, bunch of young, mostly young people, and they did a really nice job. But it was just an amazing thing over there. The Cove, drive by there, it's great, see the Cove open, lots of people enjoying themselves. And kudos to Public Works all the time. Can't say enough about our Public Works, getting in there, cleaning up the cove the next day. So great job there. And the powerboat races will be on Lake Lenape the weekend after Labor Day. I've gone to the last couple meetings that they've had, and I suggested that maybe they do some fundraising to try to increase the amount of winnings for each race, maybe get some more boats there. So we put together a flyer. We have a gold, silver, and bronze sponsor. I'll be sending that out via social media, email, to try to get some more sponsorships for the race, and hopefully get more people out there to watch. It's a lot of fun. With the pandemic, the numbers dwindled, but maybe with some getting more money together and making things a little bit more appetizing, we'll see some more boats there, and that's just another great thing for town to get people in our town, like the dragon boats. These people, now they come into our town, and as you walk through, you hear them saying, wow, I never knew this park existed. I never knew this was here. So these are the things that are really great to bring people into town. They can see what Mays Landing has to offer. So I'd like to say hi to Reagan and Maddie. Miss you, love you. Hope to see you soon.
I just would like to point out, with the lighthouse, I believe that Mrs. Link had a nonprofit for 5 years on that. I mean, that should have been time to see movement on that lighthouse. And as much as we all would like to see it done, hopefully we'll see movement moving forward. So I just want to point that out. Ms. Hopkins?
Yes, sir. Just one comment, and Carl, thank you so much for the kind words on Gilda's dragon race. That's for cancer. And I have to tell you, folks, there were over 1,000 people on Lake Lenape East last weekend. And our little local Bays Landing group was competing with some of the dragon boats that go all over the country and compete, like the Philadelphia Police Academy and teams down from Annapolis and down in Virginia. They have professional teams that row in the dragon races all around the East Coast. And so I'm sitting here looking at Lake Lenape, and you know me, not to go undone as a business opportunity, I'm going, wow, if you could get a couple of companies to maybe collaborate and rent a dragon boat and practice on the lake in time for Gilda's, and then register your teams. You only need a practice boat, and you formulate your own teams. Why can't Mays Landing be the Olympics of the Gilda's boat race? We're here. It's our lake. So I leave that thought to everybody in the audience and committee. It's something worth considering. It's just a business concept.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Anything else? All right. Deputy Mayor?
Not much to say. We have National Night Out coming up very shortly. I hope everyone goes out to enjoy it. From what I hear, it's going to be one heck of an event. And then also the only other thing is that I really thank the volunteer firemen of this township for the years and years of service they have. So that's all I have.
Very nice, thank you. First of all, I'd like to just take the opportunity to invite you to please go. I mean, I'm not a fan of social media, never have been, but I do encourage you to go on tonight and post and ask people to watch these meetings. I mean, it was great. I know it's controversial, but it's great to see people in attendance, because without your input, without what you want as a township, you know, we're left to our own thoughts. So, you know, what the vision that we see, we all want input from the public. So go on, share it on social media tonight. Let's see if we can get those views up to 300-400, and let's get our public informed, and let's get them knowing what's going on with their township committee members. Let them see what's happening. So please go on tonight when you get home, share it, and let's share it, see how many times we can get it shared so people watch these meetings and see what's happening. So one of the exciting things I do want to talk about, and I'm going to be able to talk about hopefully a whole lot more in the next week or two, we are seeing tremendous movement with the mill, the cotton mill complex. We have several meetings set up. And we hope that we're going to be able to bring some really, really positive news forth to the community in the very, very near future, hopefully as soon as the next meeting. So that's a very exciting thing. And Bob, thank you for updating us on the Economic Development Commission. You know how important that is to me personally. I want to see that happen, and I appreciate you moving forward to see if we get something on the next meeting. So And Chief, I guess we're still waiting on one piece on the LSV community? Well, you're responsible for helping to get the views on this township committee up, okay?
Yes, yes. So the LSV ordinance, the state is very much involved because we are the first township or the first city or municipality, I should say, in the state that is passing one of these ordinances. So they want to make sure that they dot their i's, cross their t's, and that any or questions that they have for all over the state, they have answered in this one ordinance. So it's taken them a little bit longer time, a little bit longer to approve, but I'm hopeful within the next month or so. Sergeant Smith and I did have a meeting with the state, and he came in. He's a retired police officer. He said that they're very excited about it. So he said that he's hopeful that everything's going to go smoothly once they have all their answers and they're going to approve it. So
fantastic.
It is low speed, right?
Low speed.
Government.
Exactly.
I have a question. The National Night Out, is that open to the merchants having tables there?
Yes, they can.
They can?
We have right now, I believe we already have 40 tents that people have said that they're going to come out. So they're more than welcome to come out, the merchants.
And who do they contact?
Michael Tandem, he's one of our detectives.
Okay.
I can put something, or I can have him call you if you're interested. I'm assuming that you're interested with the roller skating or something.
Yeah.
We can do that, and I can put in Nixle out as
Okay.
well. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
What time do they have to set up at?
That's a good question. I can't answer that.
Okay.
I want to
So
say
what
it's 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Okay. Very good.
I don't think we'll have the parking lot done in time.
No, I don't think so.
I'll try. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. That's it for committee. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak at this time? Mr. Kerrigan.
2 points to make. Since the fire administrator will increase the maximum number of employees, I'm against that.
I appreciate that, Jim.
And my other point is, I'm for shared services. Therefore, I want MUA to move into this building.
I appreciate your comments, Jim. Thank you.
I'm for that. So, one of each.
There you go.
I'm for the MUA moving in here, but I'm against the firing administrator. The DCA report needs to be, what's the word? Abolished, or just throw it out.
I appreciate that, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak?
Mike Swain again. My daughter came home this past week, and she went to take my 2 young grandsons to the Cove. And if any of you have had children, before they're teenagers, they're up early in the morning. And unfortunately, the Cove didn't open until 11 o'clock in the morning. And I got 2 very disappointed grandkids coming back to my house. So I would like to encourage the committee to take a look at the scheduling of the hours of the Cove, and if it's possible, get earlier morning hours that would accommodate the younger families that might want to go to the Cove instead of trekking over to Ocean City. It might be something for your agenda. Thank you.
Appreciate those comments, Mike. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.